The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the bonus show. The space buffs may be aware that tonight is the last supermoon of 2016. We've had at least one other supermoon. I think it was last month, but I think we also had some earlier in the year. I know Mars was visible at one point during a supermoon, if I recall.
I'm pretty sure there's several through the course of the year, at least in this year, 2016.
Yeah.
But the one that happened last month was just much bigger news about it.
So supermoon is when the moon is full and is at its closest point in orbit to the Earth. December's full moon follows November's beaver moon, which is I don't some kind of supermoon. I don't know, but beaver moon. It just sounds crazy, but that's what it's called. Okay. Do you care about this stuff? Do you go out and look at the supermoon when it's happening?
Okay, so the one that happened a month ago, I had to take a look at that because that was the biggest it's been in 60 years in terms of our perspective on it, being closest to the Earth, 15% bigger and so much brighter.
Right.
So at that point, I had to see it, but now I'm just kind of over it.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to go and look tonight. It's funny. I must have read about the supermoon being on December 13th months ago, because today when I was looking at my to-do list on my calendar, I had a thing that said supermoon, and I have no recollection of when I added that, but clearly I thought it was notable at some point and planned to take a look at it. I don't know that I will, because last month's supermoon was more notable. I actually am more interested in, I think it was at the beginning of the year, or maybe it was at the end of 2015, when you could see Mars with the naked eye near the full moon, and that was really cool. And I actually went on the roof of my building and checked it out, although with the light pollution in Boston, you can see it, but I'm sure that it would be much more interesting if you were in some more remote place.
That is pretty cool, and a good thing to think about how mankind will one day go there.
To Mars.
To Mars.
Yeah, we've gone to the moon, supposedly. I don't want to overstate what may just be a production by Stanley Kubrick in a sound and light stage, or whatever the conspiracy theory is. So yeah, I keep thinking, I know I mentioned this a while ago. I think this was before you were here, Pat, about being interested in maybe getting a telescope, but not wanting to necessarily invest a lot of money. And a bunch of people wrote in saying I should just get some good, I guess they're called astronomical or astronomy binoculars. You can get just binoculars that are good enough to start checking stuff out in the sky. And I still haven't done that. But
put that down for your Hanukkah list.
Yes, I should. I should put that. I don't even get presents anymore, I don't think. My girlfriend's parents always get me something, because they're more into the whole gift thing. But with my family, we've just kind of started to move away from the entire gift thing years ago. My dad will sometimes get books or something like that.
My family's the same way, but the problem is if your girlfriend's parents continue to buy you gifts, you have to do so in turn, right?
Well, I don't know. They're kind of like the parent generation gives the kid generation the gifts, but they don't really expect or want gifts back. So that's good. I mean, that's
a good deal.
That's a nice thing, yeah. In any case, I kind of like not participating for the most part in the holiday buying season. I'll get a couple people things, but I don't do this whole thing. I mean, obviously I don't have a Christmas tree, but I don't do this whole thing where there's a bunch of gifts exchanged. I don't expect gifts. People don't expect gifts from me. And I have to say it's pretty good when I see people going crazy to figure out who to get what for, and it's just crazy.
So David's not participating in the supermoon and not participating in gift exchange. You're becoming a hermit.
I may participate in the supermoon tonight. I might just walk up on the roof, look at it. Last time I looked at it for about 20 seconds, and then I was like, I don't know what else to do.
It's got to get dark at 4 o'clock anyway. You're going to be able to.
Oh, that's a good point. I don't even really have to go out late at night. Although I'm guessing in the middle of the night is when it would be most visible. Although what the hell do I know?
Well, it's best when it's right above the horizon, because it's not any bigger, but it's just an optical illusion because you can relate to the things around it, so it looks bigger.
Okay, so maybe I do want to go either early or very late in the night. And late in the night, I try to be sleeping, so that's not exactly the best time. We have news from Cuba. Google and the Cuban government have signed a deal which will allow Google to provide faster access to its data by putting servers actually in Cuba. That's a good idea. They are going to be storing the data in Cuba, which is going to eliminate long distances that signals need to cross from the island through Venezuela to the nearest Google servers. I think anytime you can avoid going through Venezuela for anything, even if it's internet data, that's a good idea. I think that this is going to be a major, major change in Cuba. One of the things many people don't understand in the U.S. about what Cubans know about whatever is going on in the world is that internet access is not ubiquitous in Cuba. And when it is very, very slow. The U.S. no direct data link to the Cuban island. And I think that this is something that is going to fundamentally change, as much as the lifting of the embargo is changing our relationship with Cuba, as much as starting to allow American businesses to come in to Cuba is going to change Cuba. More people having internet access is going to be a big, big driver of change. However, this is going to be really, really expensive. From what I read, it's going to be something like a day's work is going to be what it costs for 10 hours of internet access, an entire day's work, I believe.
I'm sure I saw the same article, but I'm not sure if it was a day's work or 10 hours of internet access would be equal to a month's salary.
Oh, no, you're right.
That's the ratio that I saw.
No,
as
you're completely
it is
right.
now.
It's completely crazy. 10 hours of internet for a month's salary, and that's what it is currently, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's going to be changing. It's going to be getting less expensive, but still very, very expensive in Cuba. I'm fascinated by this, and when you see, I mean, it's not quite like allowing full internet in North Korea, because the situation in Cuba is by no means analogous to the situation in North Korea. Cuba maintaining relationships with most countries during the time that the United States had an embargo on Cuba, so it's not analogous in any way. But because internet access was so rare, it's going to have a significant impact that is not completely unlike what it would be like to say to so many of the people of North Korea, here's actual access to the internet. Check out what's on it.
And of course, in the United States, we have net neutrality now, but I have to wonder if Google will give preferential treatment to its sites like Google and YouTube and others over some of its competitors.
Very, very good question. And that was, remember, I don't know if you saw this story, but there was a while, but maybe 6 months ago, maybe 8-9 months ago, when Facebook said, we're working on a free internet project for the entire world. It's called, I think, facebook.org is the name of the project. And we're going to figure out free satellite internet for everybody. And we might even give smartphones to people so that they can just access the internet through our satellite links. It's all going to be free. It's all going to be great. Of course, by default, it's going to be really, really fast to access Facebook. And some other websites, they might not be quite so fast. And it's actually brilliant business under the guise of doing something that is a humanitarian effort.
Do you know if this is still in the works or if it's blown over by now?
I think they're still working on it.
Wow.
Yeah. Haven't heard much about it recently. But yeah, anytime you control a significant portion of the internet access, you can absolutely control the traffic in a way that will be beneficial to you. And regardless, internet in Cuba, more internet in Cuba, that's a really, really good thing. Roger Stone is Trump's longtime informal advisor. And Roger Stone is commenting on what the heck was the point of those meetings with Mitt Romney, given that ultimately Donald Trump selected Exxon CEO Rex Tillerson to be Secretary of State instead of Mitt Romney or any of the other people that were presumed to be in the running for Secretary of State. And we wondered about this, Pat, because during the election, Mitt Romney said horrible things about Donald Trump. I mean, horrible things.
That he was a phony and a fraud.
A huckster, I think at one point he said really horrible stuff. And we were sort of wondering, man, it sounds kind of awkward. How do they get over that? What are these meetings like? Trump having a conversation with Romney at that mansion in New Jersey where he was holding meetings, also going out for frog leg soup at a restaurant in Trump Tower, I believe it was, a couple of weeks ago. And what Roger Stone is saying is that this was deliberately dangled in front of Mitt Romney to torture him. That's the word from Roger Stone, to torture him for previously opposing Donald Trump's election. Do you think that that could be true? I mean, Roger Stone is a total agent provocateur who is saying things deliberately all the time to inflame. I also read some commentaries that say, Mitt Romney's going to be fine. Mitt Romney is a guy who has a lot of money, and he's by and large respected by a lot of people. He's a former governor. It was just sort of more of a waste of time than really torturing Mitt Romney. It's not like he has that much else to do.
Yeah, so normally when you're having an interview process, you talk to a lot of different candidates and you choose the best one. I don't think that's what happened here at all. I think they just tried to make Mitt Romney subservient to Trump and go back on all of his words and embarrass himself publicly. And then ultimately, they knew all along that they weren't going to choose him. And if we actually covered this story when it happened, that they dined over frog legs and discussed the possibility that he would become Secretary of State. Even I, in that video, had the same speculation at the time.
Yeah, and it's not crazy speculation. And the other thing that's been suggested is that Trump knew all along that it was going to be the Exxon CEO, But the entire idea of floating and meeting with Romney and Giuliani and Petraeus and all this stuff was to give the appearance that Trump is actually having sort of a well-rounded exploration of the different types of people that could ultimately be there. And then eventually you pick the Russian-connected oil oligarch.
Yeah, I think the writing was even on the wall about a week ago when Rudy Giuliani pulled out his name from consideration.
Yeah.
I think he had got the message at that point that it wasn't going to be him, and he just wanted to save face.
I think you're absolutely right about that. And whether Trump, the other thing that if this is true, it also seems like a horrible way for the president-elect to be using his time, because I get the idea of at least appearing to do a reasonable search. But multiple meetings, public meetings, where after them Mitt Romney is talking and giving statements about how great it went and blah, 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 blah. If he really did that merely to get Romney to publicly say nice things about him, that really shows the destructive nature of Donald Trump's ego and narcissism.
Yeah, that's a total embodiment of his character right there.
I would absolutely agree. I hope that this isn't true. Roger Stone, I can't even tell you whether Roger Stone is a guy that can or cannot be trusted. I mean, he says inflammatory things all the time. That doesn't mean that those things aren't true.
Right.
But certainly a guy who is deliberately agitating people on a regular basis. Quick update. Please donate to the Indiegogo fundraising campaign. This is what I would call sort of the thick of it. And we need to start making some faster progress towards the goal. So please, please, please go to davidpakman.com/donate. Make whatever donation you can. And I'm hoping this historically, Pat, we are now getting into the period where we would typically see some larger contributions come in that really jumpstart enthusiasm and give us some larger steps towards the goal. I'm hoping that those are going to come in. It is very exciting when I get the notification on my phone that there's been a new contribution and you open it up and it's a really big number.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's also a time that is the season for giving, too, and I think those two things overlap.
My thought exactly. Although some people wrote in saying, you know, sometimes it's hard to do fundraisers at this time because a lot of people are spending money on gifts for others. So that on the one hand, you've got people sort of giving oriented in their minds. On the other hand, you also have people who are doing a lot of other giving. I think maybe on balance, it's sort of a wash. And it really comes down to, do people see the value in what we're doing? And I hope that they will, because we're trying to do some really big things here.
And if not now, the fundraiser continues through January 20th. So there still will be time.
Even on the day that you see Donald Trump being inaugurated.
With his left hand on the Art of the Deal.
On the Art of the Deal or the Bible, both his favorite books. We don't know which it will be. Even on that day, you will be able to donate. But seriously, in all seriousness, we want to make big progress on this before the New Year's break, because that's a period where a lot of people will disconnect from shows and whatever their normal media routines are. So please, 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 davidpakman.com/donate. Let's make it happen. And big read.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.